Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brandon's Haunted Library. My name is Brandon, your undead librarian, and I read and talk about fantasy, literary fiction, and of course, horror. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're looking ahead to the future of horror with 10 of my most anticipated horror book releases of 2025. These are the stories I'm counting down the days to, with some of the genre's biggest names delivering their next terrifying tales this year. So whatever kind of horror you're into, there's something here for everyone. So get ready to grow your TBR, and let's take a look at the horror gems 2025 has in store. Kicking off my list is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, set to release in January 14th, 2025. I'm already excited for this one because I've really enjoyed Hendrix's work in the past. The Final Girl support group was such a fun and clever read, one of my favorites from 2024, and I also loved his deep dive into horror history with a few sections I've read in Paperbacks from Hell, discussing the horror book craze of the 1970s and 80s. Hendrix clearly has a love for the genre, and his books deliver a mix of humor and horror. This book follows 15-year-old Fern, set to the Wellwood home in 1970s Florida, a place where unwed mothers are hidden away to give birth in secret. There, Fern finds herself under the oppressive control of the home staff, but she builds connections with the other girls. When they find a mysterious occult book, Fern and the other girls discover the power of witchcraft. Hendrix is known for putting a fresh and humorous spin on familiar horror themes, and this one sounds like it'll be a fun mix of historical fiction and witch horror. Next up is The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, set to release on March 18th, 2025. I absolutely love Stephen Graham Jones's work. Books I've read so far, like My Heart is a Chainsaw and I Was a Teenage Slasher, were phenomenal, and his unique perspective on horror keeps me coming back. This new horror novel is a 450-page historical horror set in 1912 on the American West and told through diary entries of a priest about a vampire haunting the fields of the Blackfeet Reservation in search of justice for atrocities that killed over 200 of the Blackfeet people. It's described as an American Indian revenge story, and I am so excited to see this unique story told from a true master of horror with an intimate experience and perspective. It is described as an American Indian revenge story, and I am so excited to see this unique story told by a true master of horror with an intimate experience and perspective as a native author. It's an old Western tale involving vampire hunting with a page count that lends itself to become an epic story. So what's not to be excited about? Next up is Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes, releasing April 8th of 2025. I've heard amazing things about her previous works, especially Dead Silence, and I'm a huge fan of her commitment to horror stories set in outer space. Cold Eternity takes us to a dystopian future where Haley is fleeing an interplanetary political scandal that has made her a target. She finds refuge on a massive space barge, once used for the cryogenic preservation of Earth's wealthy elite. However, what starts as a safe haven soon turns into a nightmare of its own, forcing Haley to confront something far more terrifying than who she was running from. I'm excited for this to come out. I can't wait to dive into this. Next is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, releasing on April 22nd, 2025. Nat Cassidy has quickly become one of my favorite new horror authors. I absolutely loved his 2024 novella Rest Drop and his novel Nestlings, and I'm eager to see what he can bring from this new release. In When the Wolf Comes Home, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent and bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follows them. What begins as a desperate attempt to survive soon reveals a deeper, more nightmarish truth, one that ties to an ancient, terrifying forces. And when the wolf finally comes home, no one will be spared. With what Cassidy has shown with his writing so far, I think this book is worth being excited for. Next is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig, releasing in April 29th, 2025. I'm excited for this one because I have been fortunate enough to receive an advanced copy from the publisher, an opportunity I'm truly stoked for. Chuck Wendig has received praise for his previous work, especially Black River Orchard, which I'm hoping to read before diving into his new release. The Staircase in the Woods follows 5 high schoolers that discover a mysterious staircase leading nowhere in the middle of the woods. One of them go up and never return. The staircase disappears for 20 years only to return to reunite the friends to look for their friend that disappeared on the staircase. It seems like a creepy and unique idea, and I can't wait to read it. Next, releasing May 27th, 2025, is Never Flinch by Stephen King. Now, what's to say about Stephen King that hasn't already been said? He's one of my all-time favorite authors with so many classic horror stories over the years. This one is the 4th book about his character, Detective Holly. I've read one of them, the 2023 book named Holly, and if this new one is anything like that one, it'll be more of a mystery thriller novel, but it certainly won't shy away from the horror. This book starts with the police receiving a disturbing letter from a person threatening to kill 13 innocents and 1 guilty in an act of atonement for the needless death of an innocent man, which I assume might be a reference to The Outsider, which is the first book in this series. Detective Izzy Janes turns to her friend Holly Gibney for help as the investigation unfolds. Holly is working as a bodyguard for a women's rights activist who is being threatened by a stalker. The book's synopsis says, featuring a riveting cast of characters both old and new, and an unforgettable villain addicted to murder, these twinned narratives converge in a chilling and spectacular conclusion. It's always exciting to see what King continues to bring to the table in his late career. Next up is Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle, which is coming out August 12th of 2025. Chuck Tingle is an exciting new voice in horror. I really loved his 2024 release, Bury Your Gaze. It was such a fun sci-fi horror satire with some pretty important social critique. This new book is about a global disaster which prompts thousands of comically unlikely deaths. A bisexual statistics professor who was convinced herself she might not exist, and an ethically dubious government agent must travel to Las Vegas to unravel the connection between deadly bouts of absurdity and a supernaturally lucky casino. It sounds like a lot of fun, especially knowing how Chuck Tingle expressed his style in Bury Your Gaze. I'm really looking forward to this one. Next is a horror anthology called The End of the World as We Know It, set to release on August 19th of 2025. This is going to be an anthology of short stories written by some incredible horror authors, with all the stories taking place in the post-apocalyptic universe of Stephen King's The Stand. I plan to read The Stand in 2025 in anticipation of this collection, but I love this concept, and I am super excited by the list of contributors. I'm particularly excited for short story contributions from Nat Cassidy, V. Castro, S.A. Cosby, Tananarive Due, Gambino Iglesias, Ronald Mulvey, Paul Tremblay, Catriona Ward, and Chuck Wending. It's just so cool to me that Stephen King has let these writers build upon his vision. It feels like him passing the torch to the modern age of horror authors. I can't wait for this one to come out. Next, The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas is releasing August 19th, 2025. I absolutely love The Hacienda by this author, blending historical fiction with spine-chilling horror. In this upcoming book, we're taken to 1765, where Alba Diaz flees a plague in her town in Mexico. Alba and her wealthy merchant family retreat to an isolated silver mine for refuge, but as strange hallucinations, sleepwalking, and violent convulsions take over, Alba senses a demonic presence awakening within the mine. She turns to Elias, a man with his own troubled past, who may be her only hope, but is he trustworthy? This sounds really good, and I definitely have it on my TBR for 2025. And lastly, Catriona Ward is a highly respected author in the horror genre, most known for her novel The House on Needless Street. I haven't read anything from her yet, but her upcoming novel, Nowhere Burning, releasing on October 7th, 2025, has piqued my interest. The story follows Riley and her younger brother Oliver, who join a group of teenagers squatting in the ruins of Nowhere, a ranch once owned by a disgraced actor as a place to hide his crimes until a devastating fire exposed him as a murderer. Rumors swirl that the ranch is now home to a tribe of feral children, an insular group that fiercely protects their territory, but Riley quickly realizes that this place isn't a refuge from darkness. It's a new kind of nightmare, where something far more sinister lurks, demanding a terrible price for sanctuary. I haven't yet experienced Catriona Ward's writing, but this promises to be a chilling and atmospheric horror novel that I'm definitely excited to read. And there you have it, 10 horror books to look forward to in 2025. I'd love to hear which of these caught your eye, or if there are any others you are anticipating that I missed. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're looking for even more great horror recommendations, be sure to check out my top 20 horror reads of 2024. I'll link that here for you. It's packed with some of the best scares I've read all year. But thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay spooky, and I'll see you in the next video.